evening, everyone. Hi.
Did you lunch?
Thank you, everyone, for coming. You know how amazing they are. Appreciate everyone for being here. I just want to give you a few announcements before I turn over to what we're really here for. I just want to let you know that we have an amazing scavenger hunt happening this Sunday. It benefits the kosher food bank, and it's a fun activity. You go with your kids. It goes from 10 to 12. It takes no time or as much time as you want. And it's a fun activity where you run around Winn-Dixie here in Aventura, and you look for a list of items. It's, question form, and you have to guess, which is fun for the kids. And then you can bring it with us to the kosher food bank, or you can just leave it with us, and we'll take it for you. But it helps feed about 300 families, so it's a really good cause. Also, next Wednesday, we have our lunch and learns for the ladies with Rabbi Sprung, once again. So we invite you to that. It's Wednesday at 11:15. And then lastly, I just want to remind everyone that Friday the 20th, we have early dismissal at noon. And no further ado,
All
Rabbi
right.
Sprung.
Okay. Yes. So I'm very excited to see you, of course, but also because we're going to be talking about Hanukkah, and I was discussing it with my brother today. I was talking to him, and I'm like, oh, I'm so pumped, the Hanukkah shir. He's like, why are you doing a Hanukkah shir now? We have so much time for Hanukkah. Obviously, because we will not be able to meet again before Hanukkah. And what I did not want to happen, was for people to go into Hanukkah having no bloody clue what Hanukkah is about. And when I say people, I mean everybody, and chiefly me. Because I'm 38 years old, and I've celebrated 38 Hanukkahs at this point. I remember most of them, not all of them. I have no idea what Hanukkah is about. Here's why. If you ask kids, Shira, she's 7 now, she's in the Hanukkah play, so she's got her outfit and she knows all the songs, like they do a Maccabee song. It's the same thing, they just like girdlerize it a little bit, it's like there's a little more frills and stuff, but same basic thing. Basically, the Greeks were not allowing the Jews religious freedom, so a few zealous priests hacked them to death with their shechita knives, which started a war with the Greek army. Now, in general, in those times, it was very, very bad to pick a fight with the Greek army. Nowadays, the Israeli army would make very, very short work of the Greek army. But back then, it was the opposite. The Greek army was like, the Americans and the Jews were nothing, not an army at all. They literally did not have an army. They didn't have any military to speak of, and then somehow they were victorious. It was a big miracle, but that's not what we talk about, is it? No. We light candles. Why do we light candles? I'm glad you asked. Because when the Jews were able to liberate the temple, they went in and they found that all of the oil had been defiled. It had been defiled. Now, what does defiled mean? So when I was a kid, I had these images in my head of just canisters strewn everywhere with oil all over the floor and shards. No, that's ridiculous. Because the Greeks were not stupid people, and they would never do that. And after all, the Greeks, they liked oil. The Greeks liked oil, and they used the temple for their own things. Defiling meant they went like this. Ready? That's it. They touched it. If a pagan in your temple touches your oil, it is tameh. It is defiled, and you can't use it in the menorah. So the Jews show up, and they're so sad about this, no can-do menorah business, but they find one little flask with the seal of the kohen, the seal of the high priest. And they're like, oh, at least for one day, because a flask is only good for one day. We can have one day of lighting, and then it'll take another 7 or 8 days before we can make a new batch. Okay, we'll do what we have to do. And God made a miracle. And he totally threw out the laws of physics and said, you know what? This flask of oil is going to last for 8 days. And everyone was like, that's awesome. That's awesome. So now 2,300 years later, around, we light Hanukkah candles because of that wonderful salvation that God did for us by letting the oil last for 8 days. I'll tell you what confuses me about this. It's very simple. If you look at the other Jewish holidays, you look at Pesach, what would have happened if God had not taken us out of Egypt? Well, there's the whole slavery thing. Not a good thing. There's the whole death thing. Debatably worse than slavery. God saved us from that. That's a reason to eat. Better food than matzah. That's a reason to eat. And in fact, it's a reason to drink. Purim, same thing. We're all going to die. Hitler's coming. God saves us? Yes! We'll make a holiday. Shavuot. God gives us a story. You get the point. Each thing is really, really big. And then Hanukkah, it's oh, what was the salvation? God made a puddle of oil last a little bit too long. Who cares? Like seriously, who like cares? Doesn't matter. I mean, it's a nice thing to do because if you have little kids, you can make Hanukkah projects. You make little Hanukkah with wood and like little. Okay, it's nice for that. But other than that, I don't see the point at all. I don't see the point. It didn't last, by the way. The salvation was very, very short-lived because we were overthrown by the Romans rather quickly, and the Hasmoneans, who were the ones, the Hashmonaim, who did this miracle, they were the ones who defeated the Greek army. They became Hellenists in like 2 generations. So to celebrate something like that is whack. Now, if you want to get like Jewy about it, it gets much worse, because there's a law. The law is that Tum'ah Hutra B'tzibur, which means that if everything is tameh, if everyone is defiled because you're at war, let's say you're at war, you're around dead bodies, everybody is tameh, everybody is defiled and unclean, whatever that means. If everyone is unclean, nobody's unclean. Which means that if there is no oil, which is pure, you are allowed to use impure oil on the menorah. Did you know that? No, nobody knows that, but it's true. It's true. So they could have used impure oil. So what would have happened if God would not have destroyed the laws of physics and would have allowed them to just, it would only last one day? What would they have done? They would have lit the other oil and hallelujah, would have been totally fine. Like seriously, would have been fine. Nothing would have happened. Who did it benefit? I have no idea. And you're like, no, but they needed to light right away. You know what they couldn't do right away? They couldn't use the altar right away. They couldn't use the altar because the altar was being used by the Greeks for pigs and to sacrifice to Zeus and to Aphrodite. So they couldn't use that to take it apart and throw it outside of the Machaneh of the camp and build another one. And that took them, wait for it, 8 days. Okay, but they made do with that. So Hanukkah's difficult to understand. I get that it's nice for Jews to have Christmas too. I understand. I get that. I do. I get that. But beyond that, it's a very strange thing that we do. So what I want to do, if we're successful tonight, then by the time that we leave, I don't have any books, so I have to make printouts. By the time that we leave, we will all have an appreciation for what the heck Hanukkah is and what the meaning is. Hopefully we'll be able to teach our children what it is so that their kids won't have to go 38 years without knowing what it is. Okay. So the Gemara's like, my Hanukkah. What's Hanukkah? That's how the Talmud introduces the concept of Hanukkah. Like there's actually an entire tractate on Pesach, there's a tractate on Megillah, there's a tractate on Sukkah, and the Talmud in the middle of Masechet Shabbat goes, my Hanukkah, what's Hanukkah? And I'll tell you, well, because it tells you this story of the Greeks coming in and defiling the oil, and that is a Baraita in Megillat Ta'anit. What is Megillat Ta'anit? Megillat Ta'anit is a book that, you can look it up online, Safari has it. It's a book that had all of the different festivals that the Jews used to do. We no longer do like 90% of those festivals. We've gotten rid of most of them, but 10% we still keep. They're not the biblical ones, of course. The biblical ones we keep, and then the 2 big ones, Purim and Hanukkah, we also do. But all sorts of festivals. And in this Megillah, it tells you the reasoning behind all of these festivals, and that's where it says. So the Talmud says, well, it says in Megillah Ta'anit that God did this big miracle, and the miracle it lasted 8 days. But where does it actually come up in Tanakh? Like where does this idea of Hanukkah come up in Tanakh? The answer is, of course, nowhere, because the miracle of Hanukkah happened after the Tanakh had been codified for a very long time. But I would like to talk to you about a nevuah, a prophecy from Zechariah. The prophet Zechariah, it's in chapter 3. Zechariah has this vision of Yehoshua Kohen Gadol, the high priest. He has a vision of Yehoshua, the high priest. And Yehoshua is standing there, and his clothes have poop on them. His clothes have poop. Now, if you've ever seen a tso'ah, literally tso'ah, it says, Bigadim so'im, he's wearing dirty clothes. It doesn't just mean dirty. It means like what your kid does when he's got a stomach virus. So here's the Kohen Gadol who's wearing very, very ornate clothes. How ornate? It makes Elton John look plainly dressed. It makes him look like a FedEx man. Okay? He has woven gold threads inside of his stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like this guy was big pimpin', okay? Big stuff. And he's wearing Bigadim so'im. And he's standing in front of God. And God says, oh, take away his dirty clothes and dress him up all nice. This is the Kohen Gadol. It's a strange vision. It's a strange vision to have, but, prophets, I would assume, have many, many strange visions, so who am I to judge? And then right after that it says, the angel shows me another vision. Meaning the prophet, Zechariah. He shows me something. Vayomer Eli says to me, Ma taroeh, what do you see? Omar, and I say, Ra'isi, I have seen, v'hinei menorah zahav kula. There's this big golden menorah. And on top of this menorah, there's a bowl of oil, which attaches to 7 of the, ¿cómo se dice? The branches. It attaches to 7 branches. And on either side of this big bowl on top that feeds into the branches are 2 gigantic olives. And the olives are pumping the oil into this bowl, and the bowl pumps the oil into the 7 branches, and that's what I see. Cool. So the angel says to me, do you like it? And the prophet says, well, what am I looking at? Ma'ele Adoni. Ma'ele, what is that? Vayana malach adover bi. And the angel responds to me and he says, Vayomer, halo yadata? Mahem ma'ele? Do you not know what these are? Va'omar, and I said, Lo Adoni. Obviously not. No. How do you know he didn't know what it was? That's right, because he said it. I asked you what it was, right? I asked you what this is, and the angel's like, what, you don't know? What are you rubbing it in that I'm an idiot? Like I'm a prophet, you're showing me these weird visions, and I already told you I don't know what it is, so why are you asking me why I don't know what it is? And he says, well, this is the words of God, Lo b'chayav v'lo b'koach ki im beruchi. Not with armies and not with strength, but rather by my spirit, says God. That's what the menorah means. Okay, that's very helpful, wonderful, nice. File that away for a moment, put that on the shelf in the back of your mind. Let's talk about the clothing with the dew, shall we? Let's talk about the duty clothing. Why, pray tell, is Yehoshua Kohen Gadol standing in dirty clothing? Well, it's a good thing we have the Talmud to answer that question. So the Talmud in the second Sanhedrin says, well, you know why? Because his children, he was an amazing tzaddik. He was an amazing tzaddik. Such an amazing tzaddik that he could even survive being thrown in a fire. This guy was like miracle man. But his clothing were dirty because his kids weren't so good. They married the wrong kind of ladies. His kids married the wrong kind of ladies. Depends actually who you ask him. We showed him because Rashi cites the Gemara that his children, Ibn Ezra says there was actually his descendants who he never met. Never even met these people. They married the wrong ladies. So he has duty on his clothing because his kids married girls who were not good enough. Which, I mean, it sounds like God is a mother-in-law. God sounds exactly like my sugar. I'm serious. Like, not good enough, right? Okay, fine. Fine. That's weird. Why is that a good reason to have dirt on your clothes? Does that have to do with having kids who married poorly? It's bizarre. It's weird, right? That's so weird. It gets weirder. So much weirder. Because it says, we just read it a couple weeks ago in the shul. Yitzhak is giving the brachas, thinking he's giving the bracha to Esau, but really it's Yaakov, it's his little son, the trickster guy. Yeah, Mr. Emet. It's the trickster guy. And he smells his clothing. He smells, the man is blind, so I'm sure the sense of smell was highly developed. And he says, wow, listen, Don, can you see the smell, the scent of my son is like Gan Eden, it's like heaven. What did he smell? He smelled his clothing. So it says, Vayarach et reach bigadav. He smelled the smell of his clothing. And the Talmud says, 1 second, I know it says bigadav, but the Torah doesn't have any vowels. So you can also read it, bogdav, which means what? Traitors! Exactly, I love having an Israeli. Traitors! He smelled the smell of the traitors. And he was like, wow, I love these traitors. Now, I don't know about you, but whatever smelling traitors means, no one likes traitors. No one likes traitors. If you're a traitor, people don't like you, like by definition. You're a bad person. So why is Yitzhak so happy to smell the treachery of whatever it is, his descendants that he's smelling? So the Talmud explains, well, because even the treacherous Jews still have zichuyot, they still have merit, they're still pretty good. They haven't met everyone I've met, but this is what the Talmud says. Now, do you know, you understand, we're talking about clothes, yes? He smells the smell of the clothes, and it says, what do the clothes refer to? His descendants. That's the second time that we have in Tanakh clothing being a metaphor for your kids. The first was by Yehoshua. His clothing is dirty because his kids do something bad. And now we have, chronologically earlier, Yitzhak smelling the smell of the clothes, referring to his descendants who will do something bad. So the Midrash says, what did they do? What is this referring to? After all, I know the Talmud says what the children of Yehoshua Kohen Gadol did. They married the wrong women. What did these guys do? Who's it referring to? And the Midrash says the craziest thing. It talks about a guy named Yossi Meshisa. Who's Yossi Meshisa? When the temple was being destroyed, the Romans wanted to really rub it in. So they have these Jews who were fighting for the Romans. What did you call it? The capos. The capo Jews. They had Jews that were on the Roman side. So they figured, before we sack this temple, and this is really going to torment the Jews, like add salt to the wounds. Let's send in one of theirs to be the first one to loot the temple. So they have this big, important trader named Yossi Meshisa. And they say, Yossi, you go in first. Go in, take whatever you want. It's like, all right, I got this. He goes in. What does he come out with? The menorah. Now, the menorah is a 6-foot block of gold. And they're like, slow down, buddy. Slow down. If you want to take a golden cup, we're okay with that. That's not for you. That is going to the king. Like literally, you understand? You can look on the Arch of Titus and you see a depiction of the menorah is there. You know why the menorah is there? Because you would depict that in an arch, in a victory arch. Because it was a 6-foot block of gold. That's the sort of thing you would want to show up. You're not going to give that to, some dude. So they said, go in, take something else. Take a set of, golden spoons. That'll set you up forever in the olden days. You have a set of golden spoons. I mean, your great-grandchildren are trust funded forever. Yeah, you're good to go. But like this is not for you. And Yossi Meshisa says to them, he goes, I can't go in again. Like, bro, what are you talking about? Just brought out a $4 billion menorah. Like, go take a spoon. He's like, no, I can't do it. I can't do it. I already angered God once. I can't do it. Like, emotionally, I just can't do it. They're like, dude, do you know how much money you're about to make? Aren't you Jewish? Go get the money. Because I can't. Now you can imagine how angry that made them. Because they were trying to use him to, and it's not working. So they tortured him to death. Romans were very good at that. They tortured him to death. And therefore the Midrash says that Yitzchak says, wow, even the traitors of the Jews, even the traitors, there's still something to them. There's still that, like the Hasidim say, the Pintalei, there's still that little spark of Jew that's inside of them very, very deeply. Oh, wow, that's awkward, I apologize. At least it's not honest. So, I don't know why that would be less embarrassing, but I feel like it's a little less embarrassing. But you could not possibly have failed to have noticed that once again, the clothing means the descendants, and the dirty clothing is the bad descendants. And what was the thing that the dirty descendant who is metaphorized by the clothing taking? The menorah. Is that a coincidence? Menorah, dirty clothes. Menorah, dirty clothes. Probably not a coincidence. I'll give you another example. Because maybe you're thinking, Sprung, okay, fine, you found 2 examples. Tanakh is very long. It's a big document. I mean, anybody can find, a banana over here and a hot dog over there. It's easy to find. Okay, how about this one? I'll give you another one. In the beginning of Kings, it says, "V'hamelech David zaken ba bayamim v'yechasehu ba'bgadim v'lo yicham." King David, when he got very old, his clothing didn't work. It didn't warm him. Do you know what the story that it tells? Immediately in the first chapter of the book of Kings, it talks about how his son was crap. It says, "Adoniyahu ben Chagit mitnaseh lemor ani imloch." His son had not been properly disciplined by him, so the wrong son wants to be king. Once again, clothing ain't working for ya. You got bad kids. Can't be an accident. I'll tell you one more weird thing. The menorah in the temple, you know where they got the oil? They got that from the olives, right? Squeeze the olive, get the oil. Where'd they get the wicks from?
Clothing.
Sheep clothing? Yes. Exactly right. Clothing. The worn out clothing of the Kohanim. Talmud tells us in the Masechet Shabbat right here. Bigdei kehuna shebalu. The clothing of the Kohanim that got worn out, because they had very, very fancy clothes. When they got worn out, mafki'in otan, they would take it apart, right, strand by strand. Umehen hayu osim tilot lemikdash. That would be the wicks in the temple. So not only is clothing connected to the menorah, you literally light clothing in the menorah. That's what you're using to light the menorah. Now, as a rabbi who happens to love clothing, this was very exciting for me on a personal level. That was. Right? So, I want to pull this all together. I think we should do one more thing. It tells us in Parshat V'Ha'alotcha, which is in Bamidbar, Sefer Bamidbar. Hashem says to Moshe, tell your brother Aharon. Aharon's the Kohen Gadol, he's the high priest. He says, tell your brother Aharon, B'ha'alotcha tanerot, when you cause the lights to go up, El mul pnei menorah ya'iru shivat hanerot. Towards the menorah, the 7 lights have to face. What does that mean? Well, there are different ways of understanding it, but the conventional wisdom is that, and obviously, as you can see, I don't have any artistic talent to speak of, but it means that all of the wicks were pointed towards the middle. That's nice. Okay, that we pointed to the middle. But you may have noticed that the Torah used a very strange word. It didn't say when you light the candles. You know, there's a word, lahadlik. Lahadlik, we say it with the word, lahadlik ner shel Chanukah. Lahadlik is the light. It doesn't say about Aharon when you light the menorah. It says, beha'alotcha et hanerot. Beha'alotcha. What does it even mean? When you cause the fires to go up, that's very strange. What does that mean? So Rashi explains on the site, quoting from the Talmud, it means that when you light the candles, it has to be ad shehashalhevet ola me'eleh, which means the fire has to go up on its own. It has to be a strong flame. It cannot require you. So you can't like light it and then 2 minutes later it's like doing one of those flickery thingies. You know when you get the cheap lights that they send you because they want a donation of $18 and the candle goes right, like a bad birthday cake. Right? You can't have that in the temple. It has to be a very, very strong and robust flame that stands on its own. Wonderful, marvelous, very, very, very nice. Okay. That should do it. That's all we need. You know the funny thing about Hanukkah? It's different than all of the other galuyot, all the other exiles. The galut of Yavan, of Greece, is different than the other galuyot because the Babylonians, they came and they conquered us and they kicked us out when we were in Babylonia. And then the Persians ruled over us when we were in Persia. And then the Romans destroyed the temple and ruled over us in Western society. But when the Greeks were in charge of us, where were we? Israel. The Babylonians destroyed the temple. There was no temple by the Persians. The Romans destroyed the temple. When the Greeks were in charge, there was a temple. Very unique, very strange. Not only is it unique in those ways, but let me tell you something about Greece that I learned very, very recently. We talk about the battle between Athens and Jerusalem. After all, it's a culture war, right? It's Athens and Jerusalem. Where does the word Athens come from? How does Athens get its name? Anybody know? Athena! Very good. It gets it from Athena. Why is Athens named after Athena? She's killing it, man. You married up. Yeah, right. So, why is Athens named after Athena? Well, it turns out because they had this beautiful city. And when you're a beautiful city and you have all these gods on Olympus, like how do you choose? You can't just flip a coin. You're going to have angry gods, right? So instead, you have like, in Zoolander, they had a walk-off, here they had a god-off. We're going to see which god can do the coolest thing for the town. And Poseidon goes and he does his thing, and then Athena does her thing. You know what Athena does? It's really cool. She takes her spear, and she sinks it into the ground, and you know what it becomes? An olive tree. So the city of Athens is named after Athena because she planted an olive tree, which in fact became, you guessed it, the symbol of Greece, which is why, if you win the Olympics, what do they give you? A wreath of olives! What does every participant get? A little flask of olive oil. Okay, so now you're telling me that we're celebrating this oil miracle because the oil lasted so long, but it's also like somehow coincidental that the symbol of the people who you happen to beat at the time, guess what their symbol is? Oil. It's olive oil. It's the very same olive oil. Not only is it the very same olive oil, do you know how to say sacred olive tree in Greece? In Greek? Old Greek? So cool. Who knows this? Nobody knows this. It was an accidental Wikipedia search. You know how you say it? Moria. Moria. You know what the Temple Mount is called? Moria. It's the same bloody word. That's going to make you stop and think for at least a second, doesn't it? Yeah, it does. Well, why would the symbol of Greece be olive oil? Why would it be olive oil? What are the Greeks all about and what about philosophy? Beauty and philosophy. Olive oil is wisdom. It's light. It's light. Obviously, that's why it's the symbol. It means light. Light means wisdom, the ability to perceive things, because you can't perceive in the darkness. That's what we call the Dark Ages, the Dark Ages. It's not because the sun didn't come up, it's because everyone was a moron. You had 99.9% illiteracy, so it was literally the Dark Ages. Light is absolutely the opposite of that. Hence, philosophy and Renaissance is always symbolized with light. Which is, of course, exactly what the menorah is to us, isn't it? It's exactly what the menorah is. So every Every vessel in the temple has its own symbolism. Like there's a reason why we have this and that. No one ever said, hey, why don't you put a microwave in the temple also? No, there's a reason for the shulchan, there's a reason for the mizbeach, and there's a reason, everything has a reason. The menorah is symbolic of the light of Torah. Wonderful. Wonderful. Okay. And now I shall tie this together for you all, and you will love it. And recall that we started this all off with a braita from the Megillat Ta'anit, from this book of Jewish customs and holidays. Who wrote Megillat Ta'anit? Who wrote it? Why would anyone know who wrote it? Oh, Gemara knows who wrote it. Gemara says, Tanabana, we learned in a braita, Mi katav Megillat Ta'anit? Who wrote this Megillah? Amru, they said, Hananya ben Chizkiah usiato. Hananya, the son of Chizkiah, and his friends. Shehayu mechavavim hasarot, because they really loved the troubles. They loved troubles. We're not going to talk about what that means today. But it was Hananya ben Chizkiah. By the way, I would like to point out, we're not going to talk about this because we would have to be here for a very, very long time. But when you talk about Hananya, and you talk about Chain in Chanukah, or you have words like Choni, or Nechunia, or Chanina, you're going to be dealing with the same concept every time. So Hananya wrote the Megillat Ta'anit. Where do you find this Hananya guy? It means grace. Where do you find this Hananya guy? It's a little bit better. Yes. Oh, it's a good thing. Yes, it's a wonderful thing. So I want to tell you what the Gemara says about Hananya. The Gemara says, "V'ram oto ish zachor latov." Thank God for that guy. We should remember him for good. And what's his name? His name is Hananya, son of Chizkiah. Why? She'il malehu. If not for him, this is Gemara Menachot. If not for him, the book of Yechezkel would have been lost. Lost. The book of Yechezkel would have been lost. Why? Why would it have been lost? It's because it has words in there that contradict the Torah. Okay, words that contradict the Torah. That's interesting. So what did he do about it? I'm going to read this for you. What did he do? Masa, what did he do? Helilo shlosh meos garbe shemen v'yoshav ba'aliyah v'darshan. He brought up 300 barrels of oil into an attic and extrapolated. 300 barrels of oil. The commentaries explain that they needed a lot of light in the attic. So he brought 300 barrels of oil. It's a lot, right? That's a lot of oil. Must have been a very large attic. I don't think for a second that that's what that means. Let me tell you what it means. It's simple. Very simple. Clothing means children. Oil means wisdom. That we know. Oil means wisdom to the Greeks. Oil means wisdom to you. Oil means wisdom. That means that it is a symbol of the Chachamim, of the wise. So he has a problem. The wise people. The scholars. So Hananya, this guy Hananya had a problem. What's his problem? That you're going to have to hide the book of Ezekiel. Why do I have to hide the book? Well, because it contradicts the words of the Torah. I'm sorry. If it contradicts the words of the Torah, then it's bad. You should throw it out. If it doesn't contradict the words of the Torah, then it's good. So then why do you have a problem? And the answer is because it seems like it contradicts the words of the Torah, and you're going to need a really, really heavy mind to figure out why it's not contradicting the words of the Torah. So what did Hananya ben Chizkiah do? He brought up 300 barrels of oil and explained it. Who are the 300 barrels of oil? He brought up 300 rabbis into an attic and explained it to them. That's what it means. So the guy that wrote Megillat Ta'anit, who tells the story of Hanukkah, by the way, primary source, he's the earliest source for Hanukkah. He's earlier than the Talmud. The Talmud cites him. It's his metaphor. When he says oil, he means scholar. Well, now let's talk more for a moment about what actually happened on Hanukkah, because the story that they're teaching your children is a farce. Hanukkah was a civil war. Hanukkah was a civil war. You think the war on Christmas is bad? There were Jews who were Hellenists. They did not want to have Brit Milah. They did not want to have Shabbat. They did not want to have the oral Torah. They wanted to be Greek. They were Hellenists. And they asked the Greek government, which was ordinarily very, very fine with other people's religions, they invited them in to stamp out the crazy old Jewish zealots. And the Greek army was glad to oblige. And in they came. And it was so bad. How bad was it? Listen to the words of the Megillat Ta'anit written by Mr. Oilman. He says when the Greeks came in, they defiled all the oil. Defiled the scholars. With what? With their culture. Their culture. Defiled them. And there was nothing. It would have been gone. You wouldn't have Jews left. You would still have people who eat bagels and schmear. You would still have people who light candles on Friday nights without knowing why. You would have all that, as we do today. But you know what we wouldn't have? This. You wouldn't have this. Since they had one tiny little sliver left with the seal of the Kohen Gadol. That's it. One. It was only enough to last its own generation. Not to give forth to others. What's this giving forth to others business? Don't you remember what the Torah says about how you light the menorah? When you light the menorah, you have to light it that it will be Ad shetehei shalhevet olam me'eleha. You have to light the menorah so that the light goes up on its own and does not need you. I wonder what that symbolizes. Next generation. You have to educate the children in a way that you are obsolete. That's the role of every parent. To make themselves obsolete. To grow their children greater than they, that they can stand on their own. By the way, you don't think like it's coincidental that Chanukah and Chinuch are the same word, right? But we'll get to that. Chinuch. Education. So, what does this mean? Let's look for a moment at all of our different sources and pull them all together. You'll see that it goes very, very well. So here's Yoshua Kohen Gadol. Here's the high priest, the man of the purest purity imaginable. But he's got dirty clothes in a vision of a menorah. In a vision of a menorah, he has dirty clothes. And Tom's like, why does he have dirty clothes? Because his kids. Because his kids. He was amazing, but you know what he didn't do? Didn't lay enough smackdown. So he's got dirty clothes. Just like we see by Yitzhak. He smells the clothes, and what does he immediately go on to? You got descendants that aren't any good. They're treacherous. Treacherous? Really? Treacherous? What could a Jew do that was treacherous? Oh, I'll tell you, he'll steal the menorah. That's what he'll do, he'll steal the menorah. Because you light the wisdom with the clothing. The next generation, that's what you're doing. That's what Chanukah. That's literally what Chanukah is. But you understand why we're all talking about oil. It's not. It's us against the Greeks. It's Jerusalem against Athens. So what's that a battle of? Oil! It's a battle of oil. It's our oil against their oil. That's what it is. By the way, so it's so funny because I don't want to get political about this, but it's just so unbelievable to see how true it is in 2019. For years, I think it's like 15 years now, people have been talking all over the news. Every year you get it again. You go to Starbucks and it says, Merry Coffee, right? And like nobody cares because the coffee tastes the same. But some people get very, very upset about this. They're like, there's a war on Christmas. You can't say Christmas anymore. And then you're like, what's the big deal? I don't understand. And then you have the other people that say, it's good that we don't say Merry Christmas because there are people that do not celebrate Christmas. Exactly. That's the point. Why does the guy get so angry that the holiday card from the White House doesn't say Merry Christmas anymore? Why does he get so angry? Because you're saying, 1 second, this is American culture. American culture is Christmas. Put Christmas on it. Well, then why don't they do that? They say Happy Holidays. Yeah, because the country's not just Christian. You have people celebrating Kwanzaa and Hanukkah and Festivus and all the other Seinfeldian holidays. So you can't just limit it, right? That's the point. That's why they're so threatened by it. Because their culture is being infringed upon by other people's cultures. The irony. That's Hanukkah. Hanukkah is Jews fighting over which culture is going to win over the Jews. Is it going to be the food and wine festival, or is it going to be the Shiur HaShek Hillel? What culture's gonna win? What's gonna win? I don't know either, but I'll tell you which one will last longer. Food always fights for Jews. Food always wins. Food always wins. Yeah, but I want to die. I told you. Well. So if it's a cultural war, that's the case. What are we really doing when we're lighting Hanukkah candles? It's so interesting, fascinating. Hanukkah is such a unique holiday. In every mitzvah that you have, there's an idea of hidur mitzvah. It means to beautify the mitzvah. So for example, It's Sukkot. You're gonna go get a lulav and an esrog. Okay, so you go to the rabbi. You're like, I want a lulav and an esrog. Guy's like, $2.50. You're like, bro, it's an asparagus and a lemon. I get it for $4 at Publix. Give me a cheaper one. He goes, that's the cheapest one I have. You want a nice one? $3,000. You're like, seriously, $3,000? Hey, Zekili Van Veyu, baby, Hidur Mitzvah. Mehader, you should make it nice. You should get a really beautiful etrog. $1,000. Do people buy it? I'm telling you, people buy it. It's unbelievable. Do you know what matzah costs per pound? It's gold. It's gold. It's literally gold. It's $4,000 an ounce. Like, it's like unbelievable. So that's the idea of Hidur Mitzvah, unification of a mitzvah. Not on Hanukkah. Baffling. So strange. On Hanukkah, you would think, what's Hidur Mitzvah? A nicer menorah. That's what you would think, nicer menorah. It's the only mitzvah from any mitzvah that we have, whether it's rabbinic or biblical, that Hidur is a totally different mitzvah. Do you know what the actual mitzvah of Hanukkah is? 1 candle per house. That's the mitzvah. Nobody does that. That's the mitzvah. The Talmud says, mitzvah is 1 candle per household. Vehamehadrin, the ones who want to make it nice, ner lekol echad ve'echad, 1 candle for everybody in the house. Vehamahadrin min hamahadrin, and the ones who beautify the most, start with 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 5, according to Beit Hillel or Beit Shammai. Why? Why? Why don't you just say that the mehadrin is to have nicer olive oil or fancier Chanukiah? Because the point of lighting the Hanukkah candles, is to show where you stand. That's the point. So the mehadrin is not to have a nicer candle. The mehadrin is to show more fealty to your culture. Did you know why we light it, when we light it? You know how long your candles have to last?
Yes, 30 minutes.
Now I'll tell you what it really says. It has to be lit ad shetichle regel min hashuk. See, when you're asking the rabbi how long does it have to last, you're asking him on a clock.
That's a timer.
Yeah, exactly. You think, yeah, but that's not the point. The Talmud wants to know how long does it have to last. You know what it doesn't say? Minutes. It's not about minutes. It's ad shetichle regel min hashuk, until there's no one walking around outside. That's how long it has to last. But I understand. Why does it have to last? Until everyone's done walking around outside. It has to last as long as there are people that walk around outside. Why?
So they can see.
So they can see, exactly, because the whole idea of lighting Hanukkah candles is called Pirsumei Nisa, which means shoving out the miracle. You want everybody to see. So if you have Ner Ishu Beitov, the typical mitzvah is you show there's a candle in the window that says, Jews live here and we're proud. Now if you're Mehadrin, if you want to beautify the mitzvah, there's going to be 10 candles there. Because there's not just 1 Jewish household here, there's 10 Jewish souls that live here. And if you're Mehadrin mina Mehadrin, then we're going to show you that we're in a process to get bigger and bigger and bigger. That's why it's different, because again, it's a bloody culture war. That's what it is. So, it's nobody knows. It's sad. It's sad. So, we, unbelievable. Jews, really? Very, very trusted guardians of our faith. Our parents did this, and we did it. Our parents did it, so we do it. And we teach our children to do it, and they'll do it. They'll do it. They'll circumcise their children. They'll bar mitzvah their children. And if they're lucky enough, they'll go to Jewish school. They'll do it, right? Our parents offered to send us there, and we suffered to send our kids there, and then they were good. We're very, very trustworthy guardians of these things. You know what the problem is, though? You know what we lost? Until the flame can go up on its own. We lost that somewhere along the way. We can do things. If I was taught something, I can impart it to my kid. But if I don't know it, I'm not going to hand it over. I can't do it. So we give our kids rituals. We teach them literacies. We teach them words. We teach them songs. We teach them how to sit in shul or how not to sit in shul, and what they're supposed to eat on this holiday, and what they're supposed to wear to the bar mitzvah. We teach them that. What's ridiculous?
We're teaching them.
More, you're saying.
We're teaching them falsely. We're teaching them
Well,
stories. To keep
well,
them
yeah.
going without teaching them really what we're
Exactly right. We're family. But the reason that we're failing is not because we're not. It's not because we're not good guardians and good trustees. It's because it got lost. It got lost. So we don't have it, and we can't give them something that we don't have. So we steadfastly abide by everything that we do have, and we cling to it. But the things that we don't have, we don't know that we don't have. We're not aware. The unknown unknown is a lot bigger than the known unknown, which is a heck of a lot bigger than the known known. So what do we have to do? Simple. Grab 300 barrels of oil and stick them in an attic in the chapel of Shekel and teach them something. We have to learn it. We have to understand it, because if we can impart it to them in a way that they'll understand it, then they can stand on their own. And that's on us to do. We have an amazing concept.
So when should they learn this part of it?
I just figured this out.
No.
Oh, I promise. I was really excited about it. I had no idea.
So our kids are graduating from school on it's about what?
Were you, and I, and him, and her.
I always thought that it's,
Put on a t-shirt.
at some point, it was the Maccabees. That was the real miracle.
But we don't pay any attention to the Maccabees. And by the way, it's true that it was the real miracle, but it's not a bigger miracle than the Six-Day War. Right? We've had many military. We don't celebrate any military victories in Judaism. There's not one military victory that we celebrate. None. That's not what we're about. Oh, I totally forgot to tell you. Oh my God, I can't let this out. In the first vision of Yoshua, Kohen Gadol with the dirty clothes because of his kids, right? But you understand even better, right? Because of the kids, it wasn't just that his kids weren't good. It's assimilation. It's assimilation, right? It's the worst type. That with the Greeks, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. But so here's the thing. So in that vision, when he sees the menorah, and he says to the angel, he's like, Ma ela adoni, what is this, my master? And the angel responds to him, Halo yadata, do you not know? He's like, well, obviously I don't know because I asked you. So what's the angel saying to him? If an angel says to you, it's not just an angel, okay? It's not just an angel. It happens also in Megillat Ruth. If you're reading Ruth, the first time that Boaz meets Ruth in the fields, he says, Halo shamat piti, have you not heard? Right? When someone says to you, do you not know, or have you not heard, what are you saying? You're saying that you do know and you have heard. That's what they're saying. They're saying you haven't noticed that you know, and you haven't noticed that you heard, but you heard and you know. You've heard it and you know it. You just don't know that you know it. So he says to him, Halo yadata, don't you know? And he says, Lo adoni, I don't know. He goes, oh, you don't know? Then I'll spell it out for you in little words. Lo b'chayil, v'lo b'koach, ki im beruchi. Not with military, and not with strength, but with my spirit. What do you think that's referring to? It's the story of the Jew. Oh, the Greeks are coming. Who cares? The Greeks are coming. Oh, Iran is coming? Lo b'chayil, v'lo b'koach. Well, you think you're going to win with a big military? You think you're going to win with a big military? You think you're going to win with strength? No. You win with the light of the menorah. That's how you win. That's how you win. That's how you stay. That's your staying power. That's the story of Hanukkah. It's really awesome. It's really, really awesome. There's obviously a lot more of Hanukkah, but I think that's a solid beginning, because at least it gives us an idea about what's going on. You know, the concept of 8, okay? The concept of 8. You can't fail to notice that Hanukkah is, Yemei Shmona. It's 8 days. In fact, that's even how it's introduced. It's all about 8. It's so funny, like the subtleties in the verbiage of the Gemara is very, very telling. So it says, I'll read this to you. Wait. I did not hear you.
Go ahead.
Stop supporting the military instead of supporting the salary.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Walks off the carry big.
I don't think much of those. Thank you, Teddy.
At what age did you say that these kids learn this?
They don't.
They don't. You never
just
teach
learned
it.
I'm telling you,
He just discovered it.
I have been trying to figure out the meaning of Hanukkah for many years, and I've given many talks about it that have been more about tearing down than building up. And thank God, Akash Baruch Hu was mizaka me a little bit with, I think, a tiny little bit of understanding maybe this year. But when I say this year, I mean the last 48 hours. So,
Maybe next
seriously.
year.
No, I mean, look, there's no question that it's in the zechut of the people that I'm talking to. It's not for me, because I've thought about it. So, yeah, it says on the 25th day of Kislev, the days of Hanukkah, 8 are they. Yomei de Chanukah Tamnei Havim. right? It sounds like Yoda.
Days of Hanukkah, 8 are days.
Right? But why are you saying that? It's very, very weird. So the reason is, right, because what you're really saying that it's all about 8. Well, why is it all about 8? There's other parallels to 8 when it comes to the Greeks. You know what one of the things the Greeks really, really hated? Like more than any of the other mitzvahs, you know what Jewish mitzvah they really hated? Circumcision. They hated circumcision. What are the Greeks all about? Human aesthetics. The beauty of the human. Both mind and body. That's why the Olympics were in the nude. Do you know what the word gymnasium means? The word gymnasium is a Greek word. It comes from the word gymnos. You know what gymnos means? Naked. It means naked. It's the word for gym. When you say, I'm going to the gym, honey, that's what you're saying. I'm going to the naked. Right. Well, that's why the reason you go to the gym. But that's what it means, right? Because they're all about the aesthetics. What day is the circumcision done? On the 8th day. Why is it done on the 8th day? I'll tell you why. So, in Judaism, the concept of 7 is always an earthly process, is 7. God creates the world in 7 days. 7. So what's 8? Your input is 8. God's is 7. Yours is 8. That's why.
And your plotting factors are at the point where they.
I would hope so. I would hope so. I would hope so. But obviously, meaning, but Moshe didn't know that. Right. Sure.
Yeah.
Dude, every time she opens her mouth, I am sure. So why is it 8? Again, because that's your piece. That's your piece. That's how you take it forward. Because you're a partner with God in creation. You're a partner with God. To the Greeks, by the way, we have epic respect for the Greeks. Epic respect. The people that enslave us, it's not hate and anger. Because we recognize that we're there for a reason. We have to be there. We're supposed to be there. We have what to learn from this experience, and that's why we're having this experience. Which goes back to Megillat Ta'anit. Remember when the Talmud asked, why did Hananiah ben Chizkiah write the Megillat Ta'anit? And it says, Mipnei shechavivin alehem tzarot, because they liked the tzarot. They liked the tzaros, but some kind of like crazy Yiddish masochists. What do you mean they liked the tzarot? So the Rishonim explained, it means that mechavivin alehem tzarot doesn't mean that they enjoyed it, that it was chaviv and loved. It means that they took it very seriously. But Rotem knows what the word really means. Chaviv.
Likable.
That's right. It means likable. So you can twist the word if you want and say that it means that they took it seriously. The problem is it's not what the word means. And the Talmud is very, very careful with its words. So if it says that the people who wrote the Megillat Ta'anit were people who felt a love for the tzarot, it means exactly that. Why do you think they felt a love for the tzarot? Because there was a meaning in the tzarot. There was a meaning. I think the best historical example, at least the one that I can think of, the best historical example for this phenomenon would be when the Jews of Spain were punted. When the Jews of Spain were expelled in 1492, do you know what day of the Jewish year they were expelled? Tisha B'Av. Tisha B'Av. The last day they had to get the hell out of Dodge was Tisha B'Av. And they write, we have in their letters, that when they were leaving, I mean, you understand, when you think about it, see, it's funny, because we're sitting here in America, right? And we're like, oh yeah, you know, there were Jews in Spain, and then they got kicked out. Right? Oh, it was probably like Tevye leaving Anatevka with, you know, his 2 geese and a rolly and a wheelbarrow. No. These were Jews who lived there for 700 years, and they were rich and powerful, which means that they had legacy wealth, factories of the day, real estate. They had money and investment in their countries. They spoke one language, and it was Spanish. Okay, they were Spanish, and they were punted, and they lost everything in a day, and it was like incredibly traumatizing. Incredibly traumatizing. And it says that they had solace. They were like, oh, it's Tisha B'Av. It's not an accident. I get it. It's part of the story. It's part of the story. It's for me. There's a historical context of why this is happening to us. It made it meaningful to them. I think that's what it means when it says that the tzarot were chaviv. The tzarot were appreciated by them. They felt that there was a meaning and a reason to them to grow. So we have a lot of love and respect for the Greeks. But we're different than them. We love philosophy. It's very important. Right? The Talmud is all about knocking heads, logically. That's what it is. But you can't end there. You have to take the next step, which is the 8th. You can't say, oh, I'm perfect the way that I am. No. The way that you're born is not perfect. You have to do an action. You have to make something. You have to do the 8th, the next thing. Anyway, yeah, that's the idea. Any other points, questions, comments, ideas, visualizations, aspirations, thoughts? No? Go Kings. Much love. Ruchim Tiv. You know, one of these days,